Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It's March 22. Welcome to our State Gov Committee for Wednesday. And we will turn to now our clerk. And clerk, would you take the roll, please?
Representatives Alexander, Beck, Bricken, Butler, Carringer, Chisholm, Dixie, Haston, Holsclaw, Hurt, Jernigan, Johnson, Leatherwood, Littleton, McCalman, Miller, Powell, Powers, Roeder, Terry, Vice Chairman Eldridge, Chairman Kiesling.
Yes,
Chairman, you have a quorum.
that is wonderful. Great. Members, I know some of you got to be floating in, and we understand that. Let's just try to keep a quorum if we can. All right. Are there any any announcements or hands are raising? Chairman Terry, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a shadow from the Tennessee Eagle Forum with me. If he'd stand up, Morgan Weber.
Sure.
He's also a constituent of mine, so welcome him to our committee.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Terry. All right, Chair Lady Littleton, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also have a shadow today, and she is from Stewart County. I get one of these every year. I wish I had one every week, but her name is Avery Fitzhugh. So let's make her welcome.
Let's do. Welcome, Avery. All right, Representative Butler, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a shadow today, and it happens to be my daughter, Kaylin Butler.
Kaylin, all right, great to have you. Any others? Yes, we do. Chairman Carringer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. I also have a shadow for the day from the Tennessee State Eagle Forum, Leah Pendarvis. You stand. And she is from Murfreesboro, and I found out Chairman Terry is her state
Wonderful.
rep. So
Wonderful. All right.
y'all make her feel welcome.
Let's make her welcome. Anyone else? Well, the chair has a couple of, and I would like to, I want to welcome, he's already been recognized on the House floor this week. He is shadowing the chairman, the chairman's grandson, Mr. Max Jones. Max is back, and he's with us this week. Thank you, Max. And also in the back, we have three of our election administrators across Roane, Morgan, and Fentress counties. Gentlemen, would you please stand and be recognized? Welcome. Appreciate you having here. And finally, we must never forget our dear friend, Representative Beck. He has already been recognized throughout the week. This is his birthday week this week, but let's give Representative Beck a big old happy birthday, please. 40, I think 45. Is that correct, sir? All right. Let's go. Okay. Hey, it's history. Let's talk about history, and we'll begin in the year 1861. It was then that we put together the first. It was the first chartered U.S. nursing school. That was in 1861. Moving into 1934, way down in Georgia, it was the Augusta National Golf Club. They hosted the first Masters tournament on this day. That was in 1934. The first rocket to leave the Earth's atmosphere 50 miles up was in 1946, and it was Please Please Me. The Beatles' first album that year was 1963, and finally that magical year of 1981. Billboard's Top 100. It ended with the song Rapture by Blondie, and I'm sure most of you all can remember that one. I'm not a Blondie fan, but anyway, whatever. Let's move to our, I don't think there's anything else. We're ready to move to our calendar then, and we will begin We will begin with item number 1. That'll be Chairman Garrett. That'll be House Bill 622, sir. As you approach, we see no amendments, so you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is legislation to add to our repertoire of songs for Tennessee. A constituent of mine named Debbie Mathis Watts wrote a song, The Tennessee in Me. And just to give you, I've got a long biography of her accolades, but I'm only going to highlight a few of them. Her first memories is actually at her grandfather's piano, playing it, writing music, and being here and born and raised in Tennessee. In fact, her great grandfather was a member of the 59th General Assembly, Dr. J.E. Mathis, and her roots run well and deep in the Music City. That's all she does is perform songs. She has performed at the Ryman. She has performed at the General Jackson back in the Opryland days. She's even performed at the Mother Church at Ryman Auditorium. So with that explanation, committee, I'm asking the song by Debbie Mathis Watts called The Tennessee in Me to become one of many of our state
you.
songs.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Any questions to the sponsor? Of course we do. Yes. Representative Chisholm, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you sing the words to the song?
Chairman?
I'm afraid if I do, then I may not get a favorable opinion out of the committee to make this an additional song to our repertoire of state songs.
Representative Chisholm?
Are you able to recite any of the words of the lyrics?
Chairman?
You would like, I do have the lyrics here if you would like to hear them, but they will be read rather than in tune.
Do you mind if we ask them to read them, Representative Chisholm? Would you do that?
At least the first stanza.
Please.
All right, I can do that. It's funny, I don't even know how the song starts out. As I cross the Mississippi,
The letter of E.
eastbound through Memphis, a rush of happiness and pride wash over me. I tip my hat to Graceland. I then take a country road. Tennessee, I'm home, and I'm singing as I go. It's feeling deeper than the valley, mighty as mountains, and I'm higher than the tallest tree. My heart is always singing the sweetest melody. That's the Tennessee in me. I drive down Main Street to the courthouse on the square, and I see a statue of a soldier standing there. He volunteered to keep our country free, and my heart overflows. That's the Tennessee in me. I pick up a piece of earth, and I hold it in my hand like Jackson, Polk, and Johnson. They would understand. This land is what I am and what I'll always be. That's the Tennessee. That's the Tennessee in me.
I love that. Yes.
If it was a poem, I hopefully did it justice.
There you go. Representative Chisholm, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Beck. You're recognized.
I'm satisfied. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very, very good. Any further request from Representative Garrett? All right. We have a call for the question on the bill. That leads us. I see no objections to the calling of the question. Let us vote. Those in favor, please say aye. Those like sign no. And I see or hear no. You are moving on. That House Bill 622 passes and moving on to calendar and rules. Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee.
Thank you. Very good. Item number 2, House Bill 693. Representative Parkson, you are recognized. I see no amendments. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct, and thank you.
You're
Good morning,
recognized,
committee.
sir.
Thank you, sir. And committee, this is a bill where I'm fighting for our police and firefighter brothers on this and sisters. So some of you may not know, but there is a practice amongst police and fire and some public service employees where they are forced to sign consent to allow their supervisors to come to their homes when they're on sick leave. This tactic is used at the discretion of the supervisor in most cases. All employees don't get checked on, mostly those that live in the local area only. if they're checked on. This tactic is also used to target employees. When these visits happen, the employee is liable for incidents because they can happen on the employee's property. It's a bit of a violation of the employee's civil liberties, and this is for employees who have earned sick leave. What this bill will do is it will end the practice and remove the coerced signing of consent. It will remove the practice of making unrequested sick calls to their homes when they're off on sick leave. It will shift the liability or burden to the visiting employer, and it will require that all employees are treated the same. And I want to give you an example of what this looks like. I retired from the fire department in 2015. When I retired from the fire department, I had about 8,372 hours of sick leave that I had earned. That's almost 3 years of sick leave. Because I had an overzealous supervisor who really didn't care for me, he would come to my house just to make sure I was in the house. One time, I had been in a car accident leaving work, and I went to the hospital. I was actually transported to the hospital, and I was at home after leaving the hospital, and I was at home in my second story bedroom, and the same supervisor came to my house and told me, pulled up in my driveway and told me to come downstairs and stick my head out the door just to make sure that I was in the house. And of course, he woke me up because I was on pain medication from the accident. And I may have been a bit groggy and a bit cranky when he woke me up and told me to hobble down my stairs, get out of my sick bed, hobble down my stairs on medication, only to stick my head out of my door so that he could make sure that I was in my house. And when you think about the times that we're in, never more have our police officers and sheriff's deputies and firefighters needed the use of their earned sick time so they can be refreshed and go back to work when they finish with their sick leave. Give you another example. This came from one of our Memphis firefighter brothers, and one of our representatives, he's a former firefighter. I'm sure he knows about this also. One of the Memphis firefighters, they have the same practice. I was Shelby County Fire Department, but Memphis has the same practice. And one of the firefighters was on sick leave. And when you're on sick leave, if you leave your house, they want you to call the dispatchers to let them know you're leaving your house. And then when you come back into your home, they want you to call the dispatchers to let them know that you're coming back into your home. Well, he did this. When he got home, he called the dispatchers. It just so happens that the dispatchers were on an emergency call. So he stayed on hold for 5 minutes or so before he hung up and went to sleep because he was taking medications. And he was written up and had to face a hearing because the dispatchers didn't take his call. That time, the last time when I was on that sick leave, when they came by my house after the car accident, I was written up. And the language in that write-up, in that investigation, in that write-up says, you can face discipline and be put off of work, and I'm trying to remember the words exactly. You can face discipline and be suspended, but up to termination. That's what the language in these letters in this letter of investigation said when I didn't come down my stairs to stick my head out of my door. So they were threatening to terminate me. I was a 21-year officer, lieutenant on the fire department. But because they utilize these policies and no one, the employees, are afraid to challenge it, of course, because they utilize these policies, they use these as a tool for threatening our most important employees.
Sure.
With that, Mr. Chair, I'm open for any
All
questions.
right, very good. Good explanation. Any questions to the sponsor as we move along here? Any questions? Yes, we do. Representative Beck, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And to the sponsor, I understand where you're coming from with the sick pay. Do you think there's going to be any unintended consequences as written prohibits an appointing authority from entering a government employee's private property or residence without written consent. What if that property's on fire?
That's a good question, sponsor. You're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Representative Beck. This is only for employees that are using sick leave.
Representative Beck. Representative Beck.
And that's in the bill?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions to the sponsor? I see none, and yeah, we've got a call for the question. I see no objections. Let's vote. Those in favor of House Bill 693, please say aye. Like sign no, and we have no, but the ayes have it, and we will move House Bill 693 on out to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. and
Representative
thank you.
Parkinson. Now, members, what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick diversion here. We're going to direct your attention to House Bill 11. We're going to go out of order just quickly. Gavel, I think we have to do that. And that'll be, as I said, item number 11, House Bill 712, the one, the only Representative Kip Capley. You are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. I appreciate y'all this morning. This is a,
I need a motion and a second. Do we have it? Yes, you have it, sir. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I still appreciate y'all this morning.
Yes, sir.
This is a pretty simple bill. This would just require a 15% increase in wages and salaries for the service employees of the Department of Corrections.
Gotcha. No amendments. You heard an explanation of the bill. Okay, we've already got a question called on the bill. I see no objections to the calling of the question. Let's vote. Those in favor of House Bill 712, please say aye. Like sign no, the ayes have it. And Representative Capley, you're moving on to finance, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
We will go back in order to item number 3. And Representative McKenzie is anxiously awaiting to present House Bill 931. And Representative McKenzie, I see no amendments. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct.
You are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this bill is a simple bill, but it's really a powerful bill that I think is going to really impact the lives of our most vulnerable children. Basically, what this bill does is reduces the amount of money that we send over to the education lottery from 80% to 78%, and takes that 2% and creates a fund where we can allow programs that support our at-risk youth in our most rural areas and our most urban areas to have programs associated with just enriching their lives. I know in subcommittee we had conversations about how these monies were going to be administered. Talked with Representative Bricken about that, and just to let you all know that 78%, the education lottery is almost endowed in terms of the amount of money that they have coming in. That 2% is not going to make a bit of difference. Also, the Sports Wagering Advisory Council, which I think there's going to be a name change to that, they received roughly $9 million. They have a $6 million budget, and they're only spending about 4.1 of that currently. That was according to what they presented to the Finance Committee. So I think there is some room in there if they need to hire a half-time employee. But the way I envision this, there'll be 2 windows that open up. Folks from your county, Mr. Chair, folks from my county will apply for it, and they'll vet those. They'll run that through a rubric, and they'll divide that money
Gotcha.
up and then ask for some feedback. So that
Good explanation.
in sum total is what my bill does.
Chairman Bricken, you were mentioned in those remarks. Would you like to be recognized, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. And I certainly, Representative McKenzie and I have spoken about this. You know, the allocating 2% out, which really will be, I think, I forgot, almost $1 million.
Yeah, it's a little over $1 million.
Yeah. which is great. I mean, again, my biggest concern is how it's going to be administered. And I've not spoken to representatives from the Sports Council. Do they want to take on this task of administrating what I would assume would be kind of grant type applications or establishing grant type programs under the Sports Council? It seems to be out of place. We've talked about what other department might want to take it on, and we've not reached any conclusion there. So, the concept of getting some money to our at-risk youth is fine, but I think we've got to have a good game plan to be sure it's going to be properly administered. So
Your concern is well taken, and if you will, Representative McKenzie, I would like at this moment to break into the action here, defer to our legal and Mr. Matt Mundy. And we are going to go out session for just a couple minutes, or well, a minute.
So thank
Mr.
you, Matt
Mundy.
Money from Legal. So the way it works currently is the money is allocated by the council who takes it and they allocate it to the state treasurer. And then the state treasurer, in this case, would distribute the money to the urban and rural at youth programs. As an analogy, the 5% that is allocated for gambling addiction right now currently goes to the state treasurer. The state treasurer sends it to the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, who then administers those programs. So that was just for clarification.
Let's okay. Back to you, Chairman Bricken. Question. By Mike,
So the treasurer would take any application for this money if this legislation was
Mr.
passed?
Mundy.
The bill says that the money would be distributed by the council to the state treasurer and allocated to rural and urban at-risk youth programs. So I think that the question of what entity or agency would be in charge of prescribing the parameters for those programs and who it's allocated to is a policy question.
Is who?
Is a policy question for this committee.
All right.
Chairman Bricken.
So how do we address a policy question at this committee level? I mean, it seems like we should have without getting the weeds, I think the weeds needs to be decided before it gets to this committee. Is that making any
Well,
sense?
okay. Okay. Let's pause there. Then, are there any other questions to legal? Then, yes. Representative Dixie, you're recognized.
All right, just for clarification,
To legal.
to legal. You said that once the Treasury gets it, then let's say, for instance, in this particular case, it would get allocated to the mental health department, and they would basically administer the grant or the fund. Am I correct?
Mr.
Matt
Mundy.
Mundy from legal. Currently, for instance, for the gambling addiction money, the 5% that's allocated from sports wagering, the treasurer sends it to the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, and so they manage those programs. In this case, the bill says that the state treasurer allocates the money to the rural and urban at-risk youth programs. That's not to say that the state treasurer's office doesn't have the staff and the capability to do that. I don't know the answer to that question.
Back to you, Representative Dixie, for follow up.
Right. Thank you. But I would just, and this may be for the sponsor, but it looked like the money was really going to our mental health issues. That's why I used the example of mental health. But sorry, I thought maybe I was just.
Okay. Nothing further, Representative Dixie? Nothing further, Representative Dixie?
Nothing.
Okay. All right. Very good. And we are now toward Chairman Terry. You recognize, sir.
Thank you.
Too legal.
Yeah, too legal. And I guess there is no programs that are specifically listed in this. Is that correct?
Mr. Mundy.
Nothing more specific than rural and urban at-risk youth programs.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone, any other follow-up questions? Too legal. While we've got him lassoed here. All right, see none. We're going to go back into session. Thank you, Mr. Mundy. Sponsor, you've heard some questions. Maybe back to, if you will, could you maybe address or respond to Chairman Bricken's remarks, please?
Absolutely, and thank you for this opportunity. So, I really believe as a state, we do this well, and we do this probably daily or at least monthly. Whether it's TANF funds, if there's an administrative fee to that administering a program or receiving those grants, I think we as a state are well equipped to handle those. It could go to the Department of Human Services and be expended that way. I just I just really wanted to streamline the process as best we can. But as he said in legal, for this 2% would come in and it could go to whichever department is best suited to handle that. But it's a program that doesn't exist, so I don't have anything to hang it on. But in terms of just being able to get those dollars where they're sorely needed, that's really the point and purpose of
Okay,
the bill.
very good. Chairman Holtzclaw, you are now recognized, sir.
Thank you, Chairman, and it got addressed through legal.
Did
Thank
it?
you.
Okay, very good. On to you, Representative Powell.
Thank you, and I appreciate what the sponsor's doing. I appreciate the bill. I trust our treasurer to be a good steward. I know I've looked at a lot of different grant processes, and I mean they do a very good job of establishing the distribution of funds and overseeing those and complying to make sure that the people that want these funds. And I think the other important thing to mention here is, and I'm somebody that has supported gaming in our state, and I'm pleased with the amount of money that this has brought in, but I do recognize that it does disproportionately affect these at-risk communities. And so it's important to take that money and invest it back into those communities, particularly to our youth, because they're the ones who are unfortunately impacted by this. So I just want to point that out from a policy perspective. That's very important. I appreciate what you're doing here. I think it's very, very well-intentioned, a good bill.
Thank you, Representative Powell. Thank you for that. And now let's move on back to Chairman Bricken. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly would like this legislation to come back probably next session. Currently, 15% of the sports gambling goes to local government. I think what just kind of struck me is if you want to raise that 15% to 17% and make it specific for local government, then to apply for at-risk programs in their county. So there'll be additional money at the local government level, and they would certainly be in the best position to identify the programs within their county. So rather than create something at the state level, I certainly would suggest to the sponsor to come back, increase the local government amount with some specific parameters for how they should use that money. And I certainly would fully support that. I just can't support the legislation in this kind of vague direction right now. So again, I appreciate the sponsor.
Chair, thank you, Chairman Bricken. To sponsor, of course, we're going to be around another week or two. Do you think would you want to entertain the possibility of an amendment come back and rolling this for 1 week? You think you could put something together? Up to you, though.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. But I really to the representative's point, I think if we dilute this over 95 entities, you're going to lose the effect. And it's like having a middleman. There's going to be administrative costs and things. What I'm really trying to do is streamline as best we can, is to get this to the programs that exist, but might just need a boost. And as the representative from Davidson County said, a lot of our rural counties and our deeply urban areas, unfortunately, that's where the profits are coming from. Unfortunately, so just to try to turn some of that money around is where I'm looking. But with that said, I will definitely be amenable to rolling this a week and try to hang a few more pieces of meat on this bone. But I will say this does not exist.
I appreciate that.
You won't get a perfect product at the end.
Well,
of it, so.
that's right, and it isn't a perfect world, and that's very kind of you to out of respect, I think, for the concerns of certainly Chairman Bricken, maybe and others. Thank you for that. We will, if that's okay, then we'll roll this a week, And we'll look forward to your return, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate
Chair and committee.
Thank you. Moving on, item number 4 is an HJR. And that is HJR 27. Again, item number 4. Representative Stevens, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. HJR 27 expresses strong support by this body for Congress to finish building the southern border wall, and to do that without delay, and to take action to fund it as quickly as possible.
All right, members, you've heard that explanation. Representative Stevens, there has been a request for testimony here at this time, and if we're going to go, if no objections, we're going to go out of session. We're going to ask Mr. Stephen Puckett to come forward. He's no stranger to the table. He knows exactly what to do, and you have, sir, we're going to give you 3 minutes, please. And again, you know the routine. Please identify yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Close up.
Yeah.
Bring it on up. Closer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Stephen Puckett, resident of Hendersonville, Tennessee, and I'm speaking for myself here. I'm speaking in opposition to this because really the border wall has demonstrated itself to be the only use it really seems to demonstrate is to supply free building materials to Mexico. And so if we're going to ask Congress to do something, build something along the border, it should be something functional. I mean, Franklin Roosevelt originally proposed an actual canal system for commerce. You know, you Republicans probably call it a moat, but it would be, something that actually provides an economic benefit, whether it's a border-long immigration center with high-speed rail along the way. I'm not asking you to open it, but at least something that's beneficial. The other part is to fund it. The request to have Congress fund it, we're not specifying any type of funding request from Congress of how to fund it. Are we just going to ask them to keep shaking the American taxpayer as a money tree for this money pit, or are we going to do something more functional, like taxing the global companies based upon the annual percentage of border violations, based on the annual percentage of immigration violations, the annual percentage of asylum claims made at the border, and the annual percentage of drugs being traced from coming outside of our country. Because if Congress even began debating such a tax, the private sector would most likely have the border secure long before Congress even gets it passed. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Puckett. Questions to the presenter? Any questions to Mr. Puckett at this time? I see none. Thank you, sir. We will go back into session. Thank you for your time. Mr. Stevens, any closing remarks? Any rebuttal on those from Mr. Stevens? We got a call for the question. I see. Is there any objections? I see none. Let's vote. We are up for a vote. We are going to vote on House HJR 27. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. And the ayes have it. And you will be moving right on up to calendar and rules, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Chairman Carringer, whoops, wait a minute. We're going to pause in the action and turn our attention to Speaker Johnson. You are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I know I'm out of order, but I have a guest with me today. He's shadowing me. It's Garrett Maria, a senior at Stewart County High School.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you, Speaker. All right. Chairman Carringer from her seat, or do you want to? She is going to take the opportunity and have the respect for you, gentlemen and ladies. She's going to come to the well. And Chairman Carringer, do you have an amendment? You do. Yes, you do.
Yes, I do.
But let's get a motion here and we got a motion and a second on that'll be item number 5, House Bill 1070. We have and now I see we have an amendment. Would you please give us that tracking code, Chair Lady?
Yes, 004625, and the amendment makes the bill.
All right, thank you. We've got a motion and a second. All right, any objections to the calling of the question? Let's get it on the bill. Those in favor of Amendment 4625, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. Ayes have it. Congratulations, Chair Lady. You are now recognized on House Bill 1070.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. The amendment makes the bill, which is it allows first responders to use any technology tools they have already purchased until they are budgeted for regular replacement. This is a compromise with local agencies to make sure we're balancing public safety with realistic budget constraints of local government. So therefore, I'll go on to what my bill actually does. It is to prohibit local governments from purchasing drones from manufacturers with ties to the Chinese government or other agencies that may inappropriately monitor U.S. citizens using spyware. In 2019, the John S. McCain National Defense Act empowered the federal government to work to protect Americans from evil actors by prohibiting our tax dollars to be used to purchase technology that might allow foreign governments to spy on Americans on U.S. soil. So this would make sure that our local agencies are using those same standards to the best use of the technology and to help first responders to do their jobs while protecting the privacy of U.S. citizens. So Florida and Texas have already done this, and that's what makes the amendment, which is the only way that I really would run this bill, is to make sure that our local agencies and all that are not, if this goes into state law, that they're not having to go out and buy updated equipment and all. So this would allow them to continue to use their technology and all until their technology is needing to be upgraded. And then they would work on doing this. So
Thank you, Chair Lady. You have an explanation of the bill as amended. Any questions to the sponsor? I see none, and I just heard a call for the question. I see no objection. Let us now vote for House Bill 1070 as amended. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. Ayes have it. Congratulations, Chair
Thank-
Lady. You are headed to calendar and rules.
thank you, Chairman and Committee.
Thank you. And next we have making his way up to the podium is Representative Butler. That'll be again item number 6, House Bill 1026. And there are no amendments. We have a motion, and yes, we have a second. Representative Butler, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. This bill simply allows TWRA to use some wetland acquisition funds to purchase a 1,741 acre tract, which actually adjoins my county and my district, to expand the TWRA properties that many of my constituents, along with lots of Tennesseans, enjoy. This tract is primarily located in Cumberland County. However, a tremendous number of my constituents enjoy the TWRA resources. So this bill simply allows us to use those funds to purchase this property.
Okay.
And I'll renew my motion, stand for questions.
All right. He has renewed his motion, and now he is entertaining any questions from this committee. And I don't see any hands raised or anyone's hair standing on their head. So it looks like it could be I see no objections to the calling of the question. So therefore, let us now vote. Those in favor of House Bill 1026, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. Ayes
Thank you,
have
committee.
it. And we'll say both congratulations to you and Mr. Mike Bell, who's sitting out there viewing us out in the audience. We're now moving on to House Bill number 7. Whoops. What am I doing? What did he say? What do they want?
Those are finance ways and means.
Oh, where's it going? Oh, I apologize. Clerks are asking where you're going, Representative Butler. You're going to finance. My apology. Is Chairman Halsey in the hall? Yes, look who just entered the chamber. Yes, all right. Item number 7. You've just made our day, Chairman Halsey. If you would make your way on up here. What a great looking guy.
Thank you, Mr.
He's bringing a bill here without an amendment. So congratulations to us that you are now recognized on House Bill 726. You have a motion, you have a second, and you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It just pleases my soul to be in front of your committee.
Oh, you're so kind, sir.
I really mean that. I had this big program to deliver to you this morning. But yesterday evening, a bill was presented in the Senate, and the sponsor couldn't even get a second.
Whoa.
So my bill failed, which really troubles me. And so I'd just like to say this about that. I'm going to bring it back next year, but the way things are in this world nowadays, I'm telling you, we are going to have to repair ourselves on how we are going to exercise state sovereignty and how to get it done to protect Tennessee people. And that's what that bill was all about. But there's no sense in talking about it now, so I'm going to go weep in a corner somewhere.
We're sorry for its demise over there. Thank you, though.
All right. Take it off notice.
What? Okay, we will. The House Bill 726 then is now officially off notice. Okay, moving on to, excuse me, item number 8. That will be Chairman Reagan. Whoops, he has stepped out, so we will roll this to the heel of the calendar. Item number 8, House Bill 1375 to the heel of the calendar. Moving on to item number 9. With House Bill 734, we are now looking for Chairman Rudd. Chairman Rudd is not in the chamber, so we will move that to the Hill members. We're now moving on to item number 10, and yes, we're successful with Representative Garrett. Mayor Representative Garrett, you are coming in with House Bill 594. Let's get us a motion and a second. And now we've got, I'm looking here at a couple of tracking codes. Which one, Representative Garrett?
Mr. Chairman, that would be tracking code ending in 5176.
You bingo. We got it. All right, we got a motion and a second. Let's get this amendment on the bill here. We did get a motion in a second, did we not? Or not? We did? Okay. We have a motion and a second. So let's vote. Let's get it on here. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. Ayes have it. It is now officially, Representative Garrett has now been on House Bill 594, and you, sir, are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 594 as amended. What this legislation does is it takes restaurants and bars inside the Central Business Improvement District in Metro from the Metro Beer Board and places them under the State Alcoholic Beverage Commission for enforcement and licensure purposes. And the reason for this is that just by consumption rates from liquor by the drink in this particular area in Metro, I don't have the beer consumption rates. The consumption that's in this zone is nearly 50% of the consumption in the entire state. And so the reason why this legislation is so important is that the beer board has civilians that regulate and enforce any sort of infractions that a business might have in this particular district. The ABC, the Alcoholic Beverage Commission, actually has officers. They have some criminal component. They can seize, they can arrest, where the beer board has to call the police. The police have to come down there, et cetera. So there's a timing issue with responding to any incidents that needs to be responded to. And also, there's a lot of people that are in this particular district. So this legislation only affects that particular zone, which is referred to as a Central Business Improvement District in Metro. All the other aspect outside that zone would remain the same and still be governed by the beer board. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm sure there's questions. I'll be happy to
there
answer
could be.
those.
Yep. Okay. Thank you for that explanation. And we will begin the questioning with Representative Beck. Mr. Representative Beck, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And sponsor, as you're aware, this is all in my district. And I'm still not sure why Sunbury County's so interested in the Central Business District, but I do appreciate you working with many of the stakeholders. I appreciate you narrowing this down to a much smaller area in your amendment. It's still hard for me to support something that affects my districts when the Convention and Visitors Bureau still has concerns and other party has concerns. For that reason, I won't be supporting your bill, but thank you.
Thank you, Representative Beck. On to Chairman Jernigan. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate that. Did the Metro Beer Board do something wrong?
Representative Garrett.
No.
Chairman Jernigan.
You just don't think that they're effective for the reasons that you listed?
Representative Garrett.
No, I don't believe it has anything to do with the actions or inactions of the Metro Beer Board. I think it more has to do with, I don't want, and I would think anyone that comes to Nashville and wants to visit this highly publicized tourism zone for the entire state wants to come to an area that will turn into New Orleans, that will turn into Las Vegas, where we have homelessness issues, where we have people that want to use the bathroom in the streets because of the area that's so concentrated. This is a public safety issue that we want to make sure we help and partner with the beer board to increase the enforcement of these infractions. So it doesn't really have anything to do with the actions or the inactions of any particular regulatory agency in Metro. It's there to help enforce, increase public safety.
Chairman Jernigan.
Well, is there a threshold? So for like maybe, is there a time when Bill Street or Gatlinburg or other places that consume alcohol will eventually need their beer board?
I can't.
Representative Garrett.
Just better?
Better. Thank
Gotcha.
you.
Is there a threshold where eventually, if Bill Street or in Gatlinburg and so where they consume alcohol, where eventually that they will need to go under ABC control?
Representative Garrett.
This legislation doesn't relay or doesn't have anything to do with a threshold, but I'm sure that could be discussed in any potential legislation that might come down the pike. But this legislation doesn't have anything to do with that.
Follow up, Chairman Jernigan.
Well, you just mentioned that 50% was, I didn't know if that was the threshold of.
Representative Garrett.
No, the nearly 50% of the liquor by the drink that's consumed in the state is consumed in this area. And so typically that statistic runs with the population. For instance, Sumner County is, somewhere in the 1%, and that kind of tracks their population as it relates to the state as a whole. And the next county next to this particular district is Shelby County, who has almost 14% of the liquor by the drink that's consumed. So there is a wide disparity between what's being consumed. Again, this doesn't even include beer. This is just liquor by the drink in this particular zone in Davidson County. So that to me says that there could be some additional assistance. And I believe that's what this legislation provides.
Chairman Jernigan.
So it doesn't sound like it's off the table for other areas in the future, such as Bill Street, if they start having the same issues as you addressed before, as Davidson County. So just to follow up one more time, so you see ABC as, you see them more as an enforcement agency. They make arrests and they're going to take people downtown to the Metro Jail. Is that what you see that happening there?
Representative Garrett.
I don't believe I can speak to what they would do in a particular situation. If a crime was being committed, I'll leave that to law enforcement to be made, the DA's office to be made on what happens to them for the infraction. But that's part of what both the ABC does and the Beer Board does, is issue those citations and either call the police if you're the Beer Board, or in the ABC instance, they don't have to call the police because they have those arresting powers through their civil
Okay.
warrant divisions.
My last is just a comment that I'll make, sir, if that's okay.
Yeah, please, one
Okay.
more.
Well, that's just a comment, is that over the past 4 or 5 years, I've gotten calls from the business owners that you're talking about downtown on a Saturday. And they call me about the ABC stings that happen there on a Saturday at 3 p.m. when the line's going all the way down the road, and then they shut the place down. And the Beer Board does not have that authority. Instead of what I would think, and my only comment is that careful what you ask for. If we're going to put this under their authority, I'm not sure if they want it or not, but I guess that time will tell whether or not we'll be back here next year. But thank you, Chairman.
Chairman, okay, thank you, Chairman Jernigan. He closes with a comment. On to you, Representative Dixie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, this doesn't feel much like a partnership. It feels like a dictatorship as usual. I got a quick question for the sponsor. Did the Metro Council ask for this? They passed a resolution asking for this?
Representative Garrett.
I've not heard from anybody from the Metro Council.
What about the mayor's office?
Representative Garrett.
Haven't heard from the Metro's office or the mayor.
What about chief of police?
Representative Garrett.
I haven't heard from the chief of police.
Representative Dixie.
All right. So you want to come into another county, decrease the revenue for another county, and you have no support of any of the administration that runs that county, not a word from them.
Representative Garrett.
Well, one, I'm not increasing the revenue for any other county. Or decreasing the revenue for any other county. But what this is that I would understand your questions if no one ever came to Davidson County that wasn't from Davidson County. I live a mile from the Davidson County border. I have children. I enjoyed going to Dancing in the District, to the concerts that were there. That's becoming a zone that's becoming so crowded that I'm not sure people feel that they need the public safety aspect of how that particular zone is coming. So I would say that it's not just an issue for Davidson County, but it's for everyone that's coming to that particular area. And we're not trying to dictate one thing or the other. I think this will provide better, more rapid response to any issues because we are increasing the focus on public safety down there so we don't become an area like the French Quarter in New Orleans where crime is rampant. So this is why I say this can be us assisting that particular zone in Metro to increase a level of safety for those patrons that come there from all across the country.
Final comment, please, Representative Dixie.
All right, two quick things. One is the fiscal note said it does decrease the local revenues, almost 74,000 for this next year and almost 150,000 for the subsequent years. You keep referring to public safety, and I find that is almost like it's laughable because you didn't even talk with the chief of police. So how could you definitely be saying that you're concerned about public safety? You didn't even consult with any of us in this county about this bill. And then you say it's about public safety. If it was truly about public safety, you would have tried to work with all the stakeholders involved, including the chief of police, in order to make that happen. But I don't feel like that happened here. But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Dixie. All right, for your concerns. Okay, Representative Powell, you're recognized.
I just want to add a point here is we keep referencing the amount of sales that are taking place in this area. So the data speaks for itself. People are coming to this area, enjoying this area, and continue to go to this area. You yourself said you like to go to this area, but yet we're trying to change the way that this area is being governed and being run and being overseen. And so, I concur with my colleagues from Davidson County. I have not heard these concerns. And I think that if there are these concerns, it's best to leave this up to the locals to work together in tandem to resolve, any issues that might be taking place instead of transferring these to the ABC, which, I think that this begins to raise questions about their authority and what they can do when it's best, left up to the locals to decide these issues. So my concern here is, if want everybody on this committee to realize when we continue to attack and change the way that Nashville handles its own business, when it's successful and it's 50% in the state in this one area, we risk all of our communities, all of our state, that revenue being lost and it having severe consequences for the state of Tennessee. So I'm proud that people want to come to Nashville. I'm proud of our reputation across the globe. And I think that this will undermine that.
Thank you, Representative Powell. We will continue moving. Representative Beck, back to you, sir.
Very quickly, you reduced to the Central Business District after the committee's concern about the original tourism development zone, which it had a full swath out to Centennial Park. Do you commit to staying with the Central Business District, even if the Senate passes the original bill with the expanded area?
Good question, Representative Garrett.
Very good question. I don't intend to change the area that this applies to. And if we do end up getting that far, that's a stance that I will take as far as I can possibly take it, that it's going to apply only to this zone, because that's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Representative Beck.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. Wait a
One
minute.
more.
Wait a minute. Back to Chairman Jernigan.
Is the ABC available to testify? Do you know? Are they on the list?
Chairman, there is no request.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
sorry. So they have to do that.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, I know. Just a question I was going to ask them, and we have about 70 police officers down there on a weekend, and I just don't know how much the ABC plans to add on there every weekend for law enforcement to increase the public safety. I just don't know what that number is. Would you know how much they would commit?
Can you address that,
Sure.
Representative Gary?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. It's my understanding that when the liquor was served through the drive-through process during the COVID area, there were, I think, 6, maybe as much as 8 new officers that were a part of that funding. They still have the ability to keep those officers that are here for compliance purposes. They're going to have more employees in that 6 to 8 range that they're just keeping in order to accommodate any issues that may occur during any sort of infractions in Central Business District and Metro. So they're going to have those employees already in place,
okay,
and have the capability to respond as I speak today.
So those
Chairman.
So those 7 are going to be committed solely to that area?
Chairman. Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's my understanding.
And you believe that going from 70 to 77 is going to be the difference for the crime?
I think going from 0 with the ABC to 7 is a step in the right direction.
Is it good? A step in the right direction.
One more. We've got to move.
No, I know where it's all coming from, so I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. Representative. Okay. A final question, and Representative Dixie, you're it, sir.
All right, I promise. Who incurs the cost of these additional officers?
me make sure I understand. You're talking about with the ABC?
Yes, sir.
That's currently budgeted on the ABC's budget that we appropriate,
So the state would incur that cost.
which is already budgeted.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
I'm
Chairman.
sorry, I've got diverted up here. Representative Dixie, are you good? Representative Dixie's good. All right, no further questions? No, great. Thank you, sir. Question on the bill. That puts us at, and I see no objections. We're going to vote those in favor of House Bill 594 as amended. Please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it, and you are moving on to finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
We are going to break for 1 minute. We're going to ask Chairman Eldridge to come up and assume the seat while I prepare for a committee, another committee.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in session. And without objection, we're going to back up on the calendar to item number 8 by Chairman Reagan. House Bill 1375. Do we have a motion? We have a motion and a second. And Chairman, you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Chairman, we'll go ahead and recognize you on your bill. I know there is an amendment, but we'll go ahead and recognize you on your bill.
We're on House Bill 1375, sir.
That is correct.
Okay. The purpose of this bill is to create a better balance in the membership appointing authority to the Historical Commission. Voting membership, it will be divided equally among the House, the Senate, and the governor. The governor still appoints non-voting experts as ex officio. The new voting composition under this bill would be 15 instead of the previously required 24. It is more representative of the entire state by design, and not that the current commission doesn't, but the current commission has no design for that. It's less cumbersome, more efficient. A smaller commission, by definition, is going to be more effective and economical. Specifically regarding membership qualifications and appointment origins, it requires a minimum number from each grand division. It requires at least 3 people on the commission to have academic background in history or historic preservation or both. It maintains the requirement to have at least 1 member over the age 60 and 1 member of a racial minority. The gubernatorial appointment of expert membership is unchanged in composition. In other words, the governor's designee, state historian, state archaeologist, commissioner of environment and conservation, or his designee or her designee, and the state librarian and archivist. And it staggers the terms since it's creating a new board. It does not require that any member of the board be taken off of it. They can be reappointed by the new appointing official. What this does, though, is it creates a balance of power. Currently, the governor has employees, 5 of his employees that vote on this, and he appoints all of the other members on this board. Again, no dispersions cast towards the membership, but we are, as a body, replacing other boards with the appointment authority from the House, the Senate, and the governor. With that explanation, I stand ready to take questions.
Thank you, sponsor. And is there, at this time, there is an amendment that's been proposed, and we're going to recognize Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Second. You have a motion and a second, and if you would give us that drafting code, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 5994.
All right, sir. And you're recognized on your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first and foremost, Mr. Chairman, I did apologize to Chairman Reagan maybe about 30 or 40 minutes ago because he had not seen this amendment. And I apologize for not having time to get this before you. But we did have a discussion about it. The amendment, the only thing this amendment changes is based on what Chairman Reagan has said this bill is about. Balance of power, his words. And when he mentioned that, I said, well, when you start talking about the balance of power in reference to this bill, you should include equity. And equity is diversity. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, what this amendment simply does, in making the appointments to the commission, the appointing authorities shall, of each appointing authority, 5 appointees, appoint at least 2 appointees who are members of a political party other than that of the appointing authority. In other words, if the governor under this bill gets 5 appointees, 2 should be of a different party. And the same thing for the Speaker of the House and the Lieutenant Governor. That further establishes a balance of power and diversity and equity. And I've noticed who your Senate sponsor is. And he has a track record of certainly not being one that supports diversity. And this amendment pretty much assures a balance of power. I spoke with the chairman. He said he didn't agree with it. So I'm tempted to remove it for this point, but you may very well see it again on the floor. But I'd like for you to comment on why you disagree with it.
Thank you very much. I would point out that we have no requirements such as that on any other of our boards. And on the government operations, I get the chance to see all 265 of them come before me. This bill is aligning this board with others in terms of the appointment authority that we already are in the process of doing. New boards as they're created. The source of appointments that my colleague has suggested is going to be difficult for a member of an opposition party to make sure that they're meeting the requirements that are specified already in this bill in terms of academic credentials and across the state. For that reason, I have to stand against it.
Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did I understand you to speak of the academic qualifications and that my amendment may somewhat violate that?
No, sir. I'm so sorry, Mr. Chair.
That's fine. Thank you.
No, it doesn't violate it. It just makes it more difficult because, quite frankly, the circle of people that are making the appointments know most of the people that in their districts and their parties, as opposed to those in opposition parties.
Representative Miller.
So you're suggesting if the governor has 5 appointments and this amendment say 2 of those should be of a different party, the governor couldn't find 2 individuals of a different party with the academic qualifications to serve on this commission?
Chairman.
I didn't say he couldn't. I just said it would be more difficult, sir. The issue too is again, the makeup of the other boards and their appointment sources. Even where we have diversified the appointment authorities from governor to House to Senate has no such additional requirement on it.
Representative Miller.
Again, my amendments simply want to respect what your bill is about, the balance of power. And this is all my amendment does. It's furthering that concept of yours, a balance of power. But what you're saying to me, no, this is taking it a little too far, that balance of power. But yet you want to take that power away from the governor, because currently the governor has the power to appoint all members of that commission. But yet you want to break that up. And I can almost support that. But at the same time, you're saying that's as far as it should go. We shouldn't diversify this thing any further than that. Because hypothetically, as you said, you could end up with 15 individuals appointed by these three entities, and all of them could be of one party, one mindset, and one African American? I don't want to take that chance personally.
Chairman?
I regret you take that personally, sir, but that's all I did was repeat what was in the previous bill or the previous law. That's not a change. That said, I do appreciate your apology earlier on contacting me before a little late in this game. Had your amendment said something like in proportion to representation existing in the bodies that are making the appointments, I might could agree with you. But when you specify a specific number, that's not in proportion to what is in the bodies. Therefore, I can't agree with you, sir.
Representative Miller.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to withdraw the amendment so that we can have further conversation about it. One last question. Has the governor flagged this bill?
I'm unaware if he has.
All right.
So, thank you.
So at this point, you wish to withdraw your
Yes,
amendment?
Mr. Chairman.
All right. Without objection, House Amendment number 1 is withdrawn. All right. Any further? We've got a question on the bill. Is there any objection to the question? We have objection. We're going to be voting on the calling of the question. All in favor of calling of the question? Pardon? At this time, the vote aye is affirmative for the calling of the question. So if without any further explanation, all in favor of the calling of the question, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. The ayes have it. We are now called on the bill, House Bill 1375. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. The ayes have it. That moves out to GovOps.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and
Probably
committee.
got a pretty good shot there.
Thank you for the cooperation of the members. Appreciate it.
Without objection, we'll take up item number 9 by Chairman Rudd. House Bill 734. We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Chairman Rudd. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. This bill was brought to me by Senator Wiley and about some constituent concerns, and it is a good bill. What it is, it only guarantees that all public records are to be accessed by all people equally, and everyone's to be given free access and treated the same. No one is to be put on a waiting list or charged more for copies at the county or state, and it just guarantees that everyone who is accessing public records shall be treated fairly and equally.
All right. Heard the explanation, and Representative Powell, saw your hand first there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that's a noble cause. I guess my question is, who decides on what that is going to be? If there's a cost, is there going to be a standard cost, or what is the process? I see what you're trying to do here, but who is the one that decides how all state records are shared? If there's a cost, how that is, what does that look like? Who decides that?
Chairman Rudd.
Yeah, thank you. Again, that's not a part of this bill. Those rules and any costs or the the policies set forth now either by the state or the county, is those already in place. I'm not changing those. I'm just stating that whatever the policies are, that everybody's be treated equally, including the news media organizations or individuals. If they want to access records where allowable, they're to be treated fairly and equally. And sometimes you had a case where, let's just say a county official doesn't like one person, then there's 20 people wanting copies or wanting access to information. They may make them wait a day or two or to the end of the day, and everybody else is given. This is first come, first serve. You treat everybody fairly. But it doesn't change any of the existing rules as far as policies or laws that are already in place about copies, what you charge for a copy. Those are already in place. We're not addressing that.
Representative Powell.
And I appreciate that. And again, I support the bill. Follow-up question though, is there any penalty for an official who does something that you spoke of in addressing the bill?
Chairman Rudd.
There's none in the bill. Whether there is a penalty already in place for violating the existing codes, I do not know. I would assume there's not, but I do not know if that's in place or not.
All right.
Could I ask legal that question? Is there a, if we could, Mr. Chairman, go ahead. I think this is a very noble bill. It's worthwhile. Everybody should have same access. I just want to know if there's a penalty in place currently if that is not followed.
Without objection, we'll go out of session to hear from legal.
Thank you, Matt Mundy. For this in particular, no. Generally, we do have a title-wide criminal provision that a violation is a misdemeanor, but in this case, the way that it's worded that someone's not entitled to, it's not really placing a legal duty to do something or to not to do something, so I don't think that would apply.
Any other questions for legal? We're back in session. Is there any, let's see, Representative Beck, I believe you had your hand up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But you mentioned cost of copies. I remember a representative from Rutherford County bringing a bill about cost of copies. So this isn't changing that at all. Is that correct?
No, sir. I'll just use that as an example. It could be any process of requesting a public record that the public's able to access, that they would treat all people requesting those records fairly and equally.
All right, Representative Beck.
Great. Thank you very much.
Is there any other discussion? Question has been called on the bill. All in favor of House Bill 734, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Chairman, you're headed to calendar and rules. All right, and Representative Davis, you've been waiting very patiently. So House Bill 449, item number 12 on the calendar. Do we have a motion? We have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr.
And-
Chairman and committee. And so I do have an amendment that makes the bill.
Okay, which one are we going with? What's the drafting code?
5993.
All right, 5993. Without objection, we'll get that on the bill. I need a motion and a second, please. Motion second. All right. Now, we're going to put the amendment on the bill. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. The amendment 5993 is on your bill, and you're recognized for explanation.
Thank you. And so essentially what this bill does is it's a permissive bill that allows a governmental body to utilize a governmental website in order to publicly notice their meetings. It is permissive in that if they want to do so, they can. If they still want to notice their meetings through local media or newspapers, they have that ability as well. But we wanted to make sure if they did choose to use a governmental website, that we wanted to make sure that that was a secure site to ensure that the information that was placed with regard to those meetings didn't get changed or have anybody do anything nefarious. Also, we wanted to make sure that if there was the ability for a citizen to opt into any sort of e-newsletter or email, that they could do so, that they would reach out and ask to be placed on any sort of email list or email chain with regard to notification of those notices. And then also, if for some reason that someone does not have the ability to access the internet whatsoever, that they could contact that governmental body and ask for a hard copy to be mailed to them. But we wanted to make sure that if there was someone that was acting in bad faith, that governmental body had the discretion to recognize and realize that individual was acting in bad faith and did not have to comply. And then finally, the amendment that we made from subcommittee to the full committee was to allow for higher institutions to be exempted out of this. And so with that, I'll take any questions.
All right. Is there questions for the sponsor? Well, okay. Just for clarification, is this bill saying that should a county decide that they don't want to publish in a newspaper, that they do not have to, that they are being allowed to opt out of publication in a newspaper?
Well, currently under open meetings, they're not required to put it in a newspaper, but this allows for the option of placing it on their website.
You're saying they're not required to put it in the newspaper now?
That's from what I understand. We can check with legal to ensure that, but they have to publicly notice it, but it doesn't specifically say that it has to be in a local paper of generation. That is more specific towards not for notices of meetings, but for other public notices. It does specifically say that. But with regard to open meetings, I don't believe that it does require it.
Hold on just a second, Will.
Sure.
We're out of session to hear from legal.
The statute under 844-103 regarding notice of public meeting says that a governmental body shall give adequate public notice of such meeting. That applies to both regular meetings and special meetings that are called. In case law, they found that the publication in newspapers of general circulation within the county or the city are serve as adequate, mechanisms by which to provide the notice, but the statute doesn't specifically require that it be published in a newspaper.
Okay, is there any other questions for legal? We're back in session, and I just have one comment I'd like to make at this point, and it seems like we have had several bills dealing with notifications from different things come through this session. And there are a lot of people that still do not have access to the internet. Up in our area, we still largely rely on local newspapers, of which there are several, for notifications. Those newspapers do have the Press Association has a website that they post every notification on right now. It doesn't cost anything additional to the counties to do so. So I'm not really big on taking away the ability of everyone. I would be all for publication and internet. That would be great. But there's still a lot of folks out there that they rely on the newspapers, and if the internet was the answer to everything, I wouldn't be getting mail from Sam's every time I turn around. They would be all on the internet. So just my comment on the bill and everything. But I know someone called a question. Do we want to proceed with that? Question has been called.
And I just to answer and respond to that, this is permissive. So it allows for, if they want to use the website and also continue to publish in the paper, they can do so as well.
All right. Question's been called. All in favor of House Bill 449, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? No. Let's do a roll call, folks. I can't determine on that one. If the clerk would, please take the roll.
Representatives. Representative Alexander. Alexander votes aye. Beck. Beck votes aye. Bricken. Representative Bricken. Representative Butler. Representative Carringer.
Aye.
Carringer votes aye. Representative Chisholm. Chisholm votes no. Representative Dixie. Dixie votes no. Representative Haston. Haston votes no. Representative Holtzclaw. Aye. Holtzclaw votes aye. Representative Hurt. Representative Jernigan. Jernigan votes no. Representative Johnson. Johnson votes aye. Representative Leatherwood. Leatherwood votes aye. Representative Littleton. Littleton votes aye. Representative McCalman. Representative Miller. Miller votes no. Representative Powell. Powell votes no. Representative Powers. Representative Powers. Not here. Representative Rudder. Rudder votes no. Representative Terry. Representative Terry votes no. Vice Chairman Eldridge. Vice Chairman votes no. Chairman Kiesling.
Okay. Go ahead and announce.
Chairman Eldridge, you have 7 ayes and 9 noes.
Okay, House Bill 449 fails.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is about a minute from noon, and without objection, we'll take a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on just a second.
Roll the remainder of the calendar to next week.
We're going to. I can't hear you. We got. Like, huh? All right. All right. We're gonna back up here. We're gonna go ahead and take item number 13, House Bill 1004. We have a motion and a second. Question has been called.
I love it.
There was an amendment filed, but I believe they're not doing anything with that. Is that correct? So no action.
No amendment.
Okay, so we have a question on your bill. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, sir.
Go Lady Vols.
Calendar
Thank you,
rules.
Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the remainder of the calendar is rolled to next week's calendar. And without objection, we'll adjourn.